Hey bookends, welcome to a Tin Min check-in. I'm Tin. So right now I'm in Maplewood, New Jersey for the release party or discussion for Robyn Crawford's book, A Song for You, about her friendship with Whitney Houston. I love Whitney Houston. For a few years after her death, I was not able to listen to her because it hurt so much to know that she wasn't here anymore. So yeah, I was able to start back to listening to her this year and not feel too bad. And lo and behold, here comes the book that's going to be the closest to a biography I think I'm ever going to get of hers. So, yay! See you inside, bookends. So I'm in line waiting to go in. So far it's not that many people yet, but it may fill up, so that's awesome. Okay, so we're inside and we are waiting for everything to start. This is so awesome. So give you a glimpse of the stage. So this is how close we are. I can't wait to find out more about Robyn and Whitney and what happened. So, yay! Stay tuned. I think the event is supposed to start at 7. So it's about an hour until everything starts. And I got demoted to further back because the first 4 rows are for Robyn's personal guests. So I got relegated to the back. Well, not really back, like I'm 5 rows in. So still not bad. I should still be able to record just fine, hopefully. If nobody too tall sits in front of me, or if they don't set up any big equipment. But yeah, I also feel kind of weird. I guess I'll talk about the weird feelings later, but yeah, can't wait for it to start. My new current position.
I am more than honored and so excited about this moment. I just remember the early years and watching this young, beautiful woman step into the Essence offices representing Whitney Houston at the height of her career, which is why we wanted her, of course. And so young and so strong and so sure and beautiful as your mother had you know and believe. And whenever we wanted Whitney to do anything, we would go through the office and Robyn would be the representative and she would come. And there's always been this grace and an assurity, a toughness and a tenderness all wrapped in one. Reading the book, Robyn, I told you I couldn't put it down. It was a journey into your life, you know, which I really knew very little about. So I lived with you on the West Coast and the East Coast and around the world. And I'm really busy with the National Cares Mentoring Movement. And I think you heard a little bit about it. We were in 58 cities, and I've been in DC today, came back for this, and I'm going back tomorrow, back here, and then back again on Friday. But this is an important work. Because Robyn Crawford's voice is the one voice, it's the one authentic voice. We've not heard it, and there are good reasons why we've not heard it. And that's really what we're going to dive in tonight. I have many more questions than we'll ever get to ask. We're probably going to speak for about 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes, and then we're going to turn it over to you. We have some questions from the audience. We're going to do that, but Robyn, let's take our seats. I just want to tell you I am so proud of you. And the beauty of the writing is mellifluous, it's lyrical. The truth telling is mind-blowing. So let's have a seat and let's get going. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. You know, I haven't seen any of the many interviews. on television and everywhere. People have been calling me because they know that I'm interviewing you tonight and saying, wow, she's been everywhere. And I know what people are interested in. You know, we're a society that's addicted to scandal, and we want to know just all the raw details, and we want to know about sex. And if it's not those two things, we're going to make stuff up. You know, because we forget that the media are really businesses, and they want eyeballs. I want to just talk to you about, I think that people don't understand and didn't understand the relationship between you and Whitney for a reason. It's the relationship we all hunger for. That person who can know us, who we can be naked with in our soul, who we know will not judge us, who we can have fun with, who we can laugh with, cry with, travel with, just be with. And you achieved that. You had that with Whitney, she had it with you, and most of us really never have that in our lives. So just talk about, and that's what I think people don't understand. The sweetness of that relationship is really what just swept me away.
Thank you, Susan. You know I love you. I just want to say, when we were putting the event together, and I was at home one morning, and it came to me, let me call a friend. I want to get in touch with this woman by the name of Terry Williams, who was very inspiring to me coming up in the business. There was just something about her. You know, there are always people moving all around, but when you see the same faces and you need help, you want that familiar face that you know you can go to and get the answer that you're looking for. My mother always said the best producers are the ones that know who to call. So I called my friend Susan Perry, who I believe is here in the audience tonight. Hi, Susan. And I said, I'm looking for Terry Williams. How is she? Can you help me get in touch with her? And she mentioned the name Susan Taylor is going to see her. And I said, that's who I'm trying to get in touch with. I'm trying to get in touch with Susan Taylor. I'm trying to get in touch with Susan Taylor. Can you help me? Because I knew Susan would set the tone for the event, and she knew me. She knew me when I was green as could be, but I was there to represent, and I love her. I love her so much, so thank you for setting the tone this evening, and now I will get down to answering your question.
Well, you know, Robin is wearing green, but she was never green. Probably 25 years my junior, she walked into those offices at Essence, and we were a big thing, you know, just owning it all. You know, I thought we would begin, Robin, just by speaking about firsts. Firsts. Talk about the first time you and Whitney met.
Well, the first time we met was at the CDC Community Center in East Orange on Main Street. And I had no plans of working that day or that summer. I had one thing on my mind, which was playing basketball, getting ready for a new team, a new school. And sometimes life presents you with things where you look at it and you may say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. But for me, if I had done that, which I was thinking that way, I wouldn't be sitting here right now, because instead I took that job. I put it in my head that even though I had worked for 8 months and made a nice amount of money for myself for school, it didn't hurt to have more cash, and I wanted to be there for my coach, Coach Clark, who had done everything for us young girls around town playing basketball.
You were in college at the time, right?
I'm in college.
You're in college, on a scholarship.
But Clark was the one who tapped me from Barringer High School in Newark and talked to me about my game and how I could go to college of my choice. So if Clark is here, Clark, are you here? So
Barringer's in the house.
the Blue Bears. I know the Blue Bears are here. I was going to get to you. But yeah, so that was my journey, and I took my opportunities that life gave me, and I walked into the Community Development Center after getting off my bike, and I remember what I had on. I wrote about it in the book. And I walked in, and there was it was dark, tables all over the place, and back in the corner when I went to hand out papers was a young woman who I could see everything she had on, and she was beautiful. And I asked her her name, and she said, Whitney Elizabeth Houston. And just by that handle, after I gave her the pen and told her what to do, I said, I'll keep an eye out for you. And that was it.
And so you two began hanging out.
Well,
And
over the course of the summer, yeah, I chose ages 6 to 11, and subsequently she chose ages 6 to 11. No tricky stuff. She chose 6 to 11, and I had the early morning shift because in the afternoon I wanted to be free to play. And
so you were handing over.
I would pass
your
on
children to her.
those little rugrats to her. And
okay, so you all are becoming friends. You know, just reading about even pulling into this beautiful town of Maplewood, I'm like, oh, this is
Maplewood.
That's what I was saying. This is why people move to the suburbs. This is like idyllic. It's so beautiful, you know. And so you all are frolicking. You're riding your bikes. You're going to the beach. You're having a lot of fun. You're getting in a little bit of trouble, but not a lot, you know.
Yeah, no.
Having fun, and you're feeling something that you maybe might have been uncomfortable with. I don't know. Talk about the first kiss. How about that?
Well, Whitney had one thing on her mind, and that was she was singular in her focus. She said, she told me she was a singer, and I told her, you know, I was in school, a criminal justice major, and she said, oh God, I wouldn't be finishing my last year of high school if my mother wasn't making me. She already knew what she was going to do. And she told me that, you know, she was a singer, she sings professionally, but she really didn't have a song to share. And she didn't sing a lot around you. That was the other thing about her. She would just do things and then not tell you, oh yeah, I shot this cover for this magazine and it may be on the newsstand. No, you went to the store to buy groceries and some eggs and you're standing there and there she is.
Okay.
And then when you see her, you're like, Nip, why didn't you tell her? She said, oh, I didn't know when it was coming. It was almost like that's not where her head was. It was like, I'm going to record, I'm going to graduate, get this record contract, and then stick with me, and I'll take you all around the world. Now that first kiss was just along the way of the friendship bond that we were building. It was important that she had someone by her side, with her in the beginning, who knew her before she got where she was going. What was going to happen when she got where she was going was a whole nother thing. We had no idea that she would have all these hit records, that we'd end up flying all around the world all the time, and she'd be in the hot seat for most of her career. We had no idea.
Robin, it was so innocent because you're sitting, as I recall, on the floor in your living room or hers.
In her home.
And you're planning you're all planning her career.
We talked music constantly.
All the time.
That's what was happening.
And you're taking notes and you're writing down the songs she's going to sing and she's breaking them down for you?
That came when we moved into our first apartment together. That's when I really started taking notes. Music was a big part of our lives. That was the thing that held us together. I came from a musical family. My brother played 3 different instruments, but every family played music. The albums that you would get, the liner notes, you know, when you got a Stevie Wonder talking book record, you read everything. So we educated ourselves.
So that's what you all were doing, and it was an innocent kiss in so many ways.
Well, we knew who were heading up record companies at that time. And she would say, you know, I want to sing with the West Coast Crew, with Quincy Jones. And, like, she spoke it. She had so many things that she wanted to do. I began to jot them down.
Okay. So that's where you were, and that's how it happened. And I want to move on and ask you about another first. So you're humming in the car, and she may sing a little bit, and you're singing along with her. But then you really heard her, as you say in the book, sing.
Yeah.
And that was at New Hope Baptist Church. Talk about that experience of really hearing that incredible voice for the first time with accompaniment.
So up to this point, I had only heard Whitney sing with a Walkman on, or in the pool. She had this little raggedy white Walkman that she would carry around all the time and put cassettes in. And she would play every Al Jarreau record and scat with him up and down. And I would just listen. That's all I did, was listen. And I knew Al Jarreau was a favorite of hers because it was This Time, Ellis for Lovers, Breaking Away, every album she had. And there was one thing about Whitney that I remember. She always wanted a theme song to a television show. Al Jarreau had Moonlighting, which was a show she watched that starred Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. And when Al Jarreau sang, she would say, "Be quiet." And I'm talking every time she watched this show, after he finished singing the opening, she would go, "I got to get me one of those." But she never got to get one, and I always felt, why shouldn't she be able to get one if that's what she wanted?
She had so many other things that she never believed.
When you start doing,
but talk about
so much.
The first time you're really hearing her sing.
So that summer, she says, "I want to invite you to hear the junior mass choir sing." And she said, "I'd like you to come to my church." And I said, "Okay." And she said, you'll get to hear us slow down." So I said, "Okay." And I had hung out during that time with Felicia Moss, who was her cousin, and had a beautiful voice. And she also toured with us in the early years. It was Felicia, Larry, and Whitney. They were the trios, and they would do medleys at the church. So I would hang around at the house and listen to them sing. I wanted to join in, but it wasn't happening. But I always wanted to be in a choir, but you got to stay in church. You do that.
So now you're at the church.
Yeah, so I'm at the church, and I had to wear a dress because my mother said when you go to church, even though the Bible says come as you are, she told me I had to wear a dress. So I was like, okay. So I found me a little dress that I felt comfortable in it. And I went, and I sat in the 7th row, a little bit to the left. And they wore black and white, and they filed in down the aisle up to the front. And I saw Whitney come in, and boy, she straight up game face on, but cutting up, the three of them. And she came to the front, and then Larry and Felicia joined her, and they sung a medley, Mary Don't You Weep.
The three of them together?
The three of them.
Okay.
And I could still see her singing that song, Mary, like she was down in her soul. And then they stopped and left her standing flat-footed. And it was a clock in the back of the church, just like that. And she stood there, and she had this little tissue in her hand.
How old is she at this point, would you say?
She may have been 17. She may have been 17 at that point, because it was August. I remember it was hot and sticky, and she loved it. She loved it hot and sticky. She was happy about that hot, sticky August. But anyway, she said, she stood there and she opened her mouth. And before she revved up, people were like saying that being she hadn't sung anything yet. And
They knew.
And the preacher was like, the minister was like, go ahead, Whitney. And she opened her mouth, and I'm telling you, there was this one woman running around the church going, all around the church, like, and Whitney opened her eyes just a little bit, but she just rocked. And her voice was so powerful, like it was like an engine revving, and she would the control she had, and I knew she was powerful. I knew that in that moment, I would have signed her, but I knew she was
going somewhere.
I knew she
Yes, she had it. She had
I
it.
knew she
And so you're off in college and you're on scholarship, and it was wonderful reading about this incredible basketball career. You were like top of the mark right here, and I think in your I should know my son-in-law, as I call him, is Bernard King, married to our daughter. So you at the top of your game. And here you are now, and you're just there. They walk on the other side of the street. And just contrasting the relationship, why don't you do that? What her relationship was with her mother and you with yours.
Well, Whitney and I talked a lot about our families, and I noticed that she didn't really talk to her mother about the things she wanted to do. She talked to me about it, and I'd listen to her. And, but I thought her mother was funny, and she was quick, and I felt for her a lot. You don't go around disliking and despising your best friend's mom. I wanted to get to know her, and Whitney it baffled me when I realized, in public, it was like they were closer than close. And, but Whitney just really couldn't talk to her mom. I could tell my mom anything. If something went down at home and the three of us knew about it, my sister could tell you. My mother would ask me, and I would tell her, and I said, you might as well give me Venus whooping too. Because she was following me.
Vina, where are you?
That's my sister right there. Come on, baby.
You can see it. You didn't lie to your mother, and you made that very clear. Okay, so Whitney and Robin are getting high. They're running around up in Washington Heights, buying their little stuff, coming back, going to the beach. And then she kind of gets wasted. She's like feeling bad the next morning. And your mother is noticing a pattern is broken, not coming home as you regularly did.
I came home, I was just slipping in.
I think this was the night that the day you stayed away for a day or two.
Oh, yeah.
And she sat down and she wanted to know what was going on. It stunned me that you told her the truth.
Yeah.
You told her that you were doing drugs.
I told her that we had been using cocaine and smoking marijuana, but not using cocaine that much. And we didn't have money to buy it. But there were people around who didn't want us going in places to get it, who would like just, take care of us, kind of.
You know what I found very interesting? Because I don't know why it would be assumed you're the older of the two. You're 2.5 years older than Whitney. And one day I think you're picking her up maybe from school. And Whitney gets in the car, I think, and she lights up a cigarette. Robin's stunned. She smokes cigarettes? Oh my God. And Whitney's just puffing away, yeah. Then she takes out a joint and Robin's just freaked out. I don't think you'd ever done that,
I wasn't freaked out, but she didn't...
She didn't light it up because of your reaction.
Well, she just wanted to let me know that the cigarette wasn't just it. She was just like, I got this too. So I was like, oh, okay.
But your mother had the good sense to call Mrs. Houston. She called Whitney, she dialed that number. Well, she said, call the house?
Yeah, like when she met Whitney, she saw what I saw.
Yeah.
She said, you look like an angel. But I know you're not. Like Whitney had that. There was something radiant about her in the simplest way that was different. And
that leads me to just really ask about what the industry tried to make her, what she didn't want to be. Just talk to us a little bit about that, because she looked like an angel. She had the body of a model. She could wear anything. But they wanted her to transform hair and clothing and the way that she appointed herself.
That was a thing back then. There were artists like Jennifer Holliday who delivered an amazing performance on Broadway, and then cut her first debut album, produced by Maurice White and backed by the Emotions, with a voice like Jennifer's. Whitney used to tell me, Jennifer has a powerful voice. Maurice knows just what he's doing. He's putting the heat up under her behind with the Emotions, and that keeps her lit constantly because her vocal is so powerful that she needs that. But not only does she have the vocal backing support, she also had the Earth, Wind, and Fire sound, because that's how powerful she was. Well, Whitney, we never got to see Jennifer perform the success of that record, and you must go get it, because I'm telling you, Whitney played that record from front to back and told Clive that that is the kind of production that she likes. Didn't have to be Maurice, could have been Quincy, but a big production. And Clive had other ideas.
He always had other ideas.
Of course, but Whitney was a partner. If she partnered with you and she shook your hand and you were partners, she let you do your job, and she would stick with it.
It was interesting to read that it was Valerie Simpson who first sort of caught the magic and made a call to Quincy Jones.
Well, Sissy, everybody turned out to see Sissy's shows. At Sweetwater's, I was at all of them. I remember one time I was at, what's that club called? forget the name of it, but huh? Well, not the Blue Note, this is Uptown, like 90-something.
Oh, McCall's, or the Cellar.
It wasn't McCall's, the Cellar, all those clubs, but I had to wait until 6 o'clock. So I'm sitting in the car, and I see this yellow taxi pull up, and in the rear view mirror, in the back seat of the window is this huge hat. And I'm looking, sitting in the car, in the back of the taxi, and I see this leg come out with a foot of a shoe about that long, and I said, that's Phyllis Hyman, I bet. And it was. And Phyllis had a personality that she could light up this room by herself. And so it'd be Luther, Phyllis, Ashford and Simpson, you name it, they were all in the clubs to see Cissy Houston. All the gays came to see Cissy. And Whitney was right there.
Singing backup.
Singing The Greatest, singing Evergreen by Streisand. I already knew she could cover songs. And you feel something that you never felt before.
So
that wasn't rocket science.
Cissy was very proud of her, pushing her out there. I like you said, you think about her, I do too, and have compassion for her. And you think about, her being on the road, trying to build this career, marriage not working out so well, trying to raise her family at once. And it can make you tense and harsh and speak in ways like my mother did, that I is a softer Cissy Houston, and for that, certainly with a broken heart, losing her children at that.
I wrote her a note, and I mailed it to her after Whitney passed, and this, I think that this was after the funeral, and I told her that my mother told me what it felt like to lose a child. And, I wrote several letters to Whitney, too, that I never mailed. But I love her mother. I don't like some things, but I did care about her mother.
Yeah, she did that. As we said, you do the best you know how to do, and when you know how to do better, you do better. So, here's this career that is, it just happened so fast, Robin. Like 1 year, you're all planning this career that has not even begun to bloom, and then she's singing backup for people and duets, and then she does her first album, and she's a superstar.
It didn't happen fast. It happened steady.
We're talking 3 years. This first album came out in 1986?
Yeah, but before that, she did, in her mother's nightclub, we were running around so much that I ended up driving to most of those, driving her, because I had a license, and I would be flooring it up 10th Avenue, taking shortcuts, and she would be changing in the car. Whitney was crazy.
So when is that? That's Whitney.
We would just, she's like, where are we at now? And I was like, you can change now, go ahead and change. Every step of the way. We do this, we take notes, we talk about it, how it went. If she had a recording engagement, I would go myself and do a dry run. That's what we called it, to make sure how it looked, how we could get out of there. We didn't want anything to happen, no harm. We would make sure, I would make sure that I knew how to get us there on time and we could get out in one piece. So, we weren't just girls that were out partying. Most people back there, thank you.
So
most people back then only wanted
a little
to smoke a joint anyway.
They give me a signal, so I'm going to move this ahead because I really do want just to hear about a couple of very, very important moments. You're on tour. You're touring the world, and you all had not been abroad yet, right?
No.
And now you're where? On one tour.
Our first tour?
Yeah.
Our first tour, yeah. We were on tour for 11 and a half months out of that year,
Lord.
riding those vocals everywhere,
Yeah.
and we wrote them, trust me. I learned how to make sure that 3 dates back to back was not good for her vocally, and it also depended on what territories. Like if you're going to Paris in the Bercy, you don't want to be coming on the heels of Wembley, coming out of that, going into Paris at the Bercy's. That was a key territory where she needed downtime to get her vocals back up. So nobody thought about that but me. When the money is coming in fast and furiously, Whitney knew that I would be thinking about her first. I didn't care how much money was
That
coming.
rarely happens in the industry. People just push you out and they'll work you to death. I mean, she was tired. And you said in the book she's only 27 and she's already weary.
She was tired in the 90s. She was tired already.
Talk about The Bodyguard and how what The Bodyguard did for her career. I know Clive Davis didn't believe she should do it. Kevin Costner, you paint him really such a beautiful picture of him. He was insistent,
He
but
was a
gentle.
great guy, very respectful,
Yes.
but on that phone, hey Robin, how you doing? I'm
We
good.
talked to
Kevin."
Whitney, no, I'm not here. And then finally she relented
would
and
just
said
go.
she'd do it. What's interesting is how you say she didn't really want to be a movie star. She wanted to do small roles.
She always made it very clear, and you can find, YouTube footage where she says, I don't want to be an actor, I'm a singer, that's what I do. She wanted small parts, little small parts. The closest to that was Waiting to Exhale, but we were busy, but she loved the book and wanted to do it for Terry McMillan. But the role that she always wanted to play, and she constantly talked about it, was a badass undercover detective. Those are her words. She wanted to do the remake of Get Christie Love, which starred Teresa Graves. That's the role that Whitney Houston wanted to play.
But The Bodyguard really changed her life.
Well, The Bodyguard did, and she was coming off of Baby Tonight, which had sold 7 million, but they called that a lackluster project for her, because that was supposed to bring her back to the black audiences.
Okay.
And Clyde felt like the role of Rachel Marin made her look like a bitch, and did not want her to do it. But Whitney made up her mind, with Kevin's help, that she was going to go ahead and do it. And I remember the day when she got off the phone, she said, she always knew, she said, this is going to be a lot of work.
And it was.
I'm not going to be able to work her schedule or anything. And I said, that's okay. We'll just do what we can to make it easy for you. And that did rocket her to where, you couldn't touch her.
I think Ellen LaVar's in the room. Is Ellen here? Who did Whitney's hair in The Bodyguard? Stand up, Ellen. Let people see you. She's been doing my hair since she was 16 years old. Queen, if you need a wig, go see Ellen LaVar. She does the best.
Bisexual. I never heard her, box herself or say that. I think today, I did an interview with The Advocate, and I can't remember if it was off the record or on the record, but he asked me if today I gave myself a label, what I would be, and what that would be, and I think it's pansexual, which is you go for the heart, you go for that feeling. And for me, that's what it was. I just wanted to be me, and whoever that was.
That's the question, too, because your first crush was actually on a young guy.
Oh, yeah. Bernard,
Yeah.
Bernard Jefferson.
Look at that smile. And you said,
My mom didn't like him either.
and Sissy liked no one when you brought home.
Yeah,
right?
that's what she said.
But I remember you're saying that, you were looking for the love, a love like Whitney. You
Like
wanted
a
a soul.
kinship,
But you
like-
wanted a person who was as loving as Whitney. That's what I recall. I want to introduce Lisa, your wife, just standing there. People see you. There she is. I don't know what you did with the questions. I don't think I have them, but I remember
Those
a couple of
questions
them.
went bye-bye.
What you found was, I don't think Whitney was ever loved by a maid, other than the time, because you should know that their sexual relationship was short. And just we're going to forego the questions because we left them in the back. Anybody who remembers them, just come up and tell me and we'll ask them, all right? But you can stand up. But that sexual relationship was a short relationship. And why, Robin? You have the questions, and we were going to ask you to read. You have lots of answers. They're just, we're compelled.
I don't, you know what, a
spellbound.
sexual relationship, I shared my feelings openly with her, and I don't consider it like sexual. I consider it like in that moment of embracing someone, we just went as far as we could right then, and that was a wonderful thing. Just touching and holding someone or cuddling them, and
now her career's taking off, and she says what to you?
for her, one day she said she didn't feel that we should be physical any longer, because where we were going, if people found out about it, that they would use it against us. And
it's a pact that you all kept.
she saw that. She saw that, she felt it, and spiritually, with the gift that she knew she had, that she carried, that she loved, that she believed in, she did not want to. Now, these aren't her words. This is me interpreting that, like, she didn't want anything to interfere with her ability to serve, to do that. And she said that you could go to hell for living that kind of life. And
tell them what you wrote. We didn't want to go to hell because you
no,
believed that too.
we did not want to go to hell, but I also felt like it was beautiful. So I looked through that Bible real good.
Let me ask the question. You had the question from the audience.
I called my friend who's a preacher. Let me ask you something. Is this true?
Because I don't want to go to hell. We're going to take two of the questions, and one of them is,
Something so good be so wrong. It's like,
wow. What is your most precious, what were the most precious moments or your most precious memories from the time with Whitney? Just the one, the most precious one. Or the funniest. But you all really cut up a lot.
there's a lot of those.
Yeah. Okay, listen, we have questions here. Your favorite Whitney song?
Okay. My favorite Whitney song is Dancing on the Smooth Edge.
Yeah. You know,
A lot of people don't know that song, but it's on the, you can find it, it's there. You need to pull that one up. It was too R&B. But it's a good one.
And then finally, Robin, why the title, A Song for You?
Well, like I said before, one of the things that really held us together was our love for music. And we would often play records for each other at home. And there was always music, in the house. But in our first apartment in Island. One night the lights were low and we were just taking turns putting the record on the turntable. And I chose The Temptations, the Black album that has A Song for You on it. It's the title of the album. And in the early process of my writing, my editor, Jill Schwartzman, said to me, do you have a title yet? And I said, I have no idea. And she said, as you write, it'll come to you. So about midway through the book, I came across that story in my mind and I was writing about it. And I remember, Dennis Edwards singing that song. And we were just silent, laying there listening to it, just the light from the stereo. And when it was over, I said, wow, that is an incredible song. I would like to hear you sing it one day. And she said, it is, but I haven't lived enough. So at that time, I knew that was it.
Profound.
That was it.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving us a Whitney that we didn't know. Thank you for the bravery that it took to do this book. Please save 3 copies for me back there. Seriously, this is a good book to give for Christmas. It is insightful. It's a view into the entertainment industry, a look at what happens. So many people are hungering for celebrity, not knowing that it's a very heavy weight, a big package to carry. Because what it does is it causes isolation, scrutiny beyond the telling, and a lot of hurt. They're dollars, but those aren't the things that make you happy. I congratulate you. The writing is beautiful. I am proud of you, and I'm so glad that you reached out to me. And the book signing is going to take place where? Where's the book signing going to take place? Oh, the book signing is going to take place in the back?
No, it's going to actually take place right up here in the front.
Oh, up here in the front? Up here. Okay, well, Robyn Crawford.
Hey, everybody. Robyn's going to be signing right down there where this young lady is standing in the corner, and we're going to...
Hey, bookends. So, just left out, and yeah, it was good hearing from Robyn. It seemed like there were some questions that the moderator was trying to push on her that she didn't really want to answer, and it's like, okay, she doesn't want to answer, so stop asking. Let her not answer a question she doesn't want to answer. I felt a little bit out of my element. When I came in, there were a lot of Robyn's friends from high school from 1979, and that was like awesome, and they were so nice to me, but I felt like I wasn't the youngest person in the room, but I kind of felt like it. Not bad, because they were all very nice, but I kind of felt a little out of my element. I really did enjoy speaking with all of them, though. They were so sweet and everybody was so nice. One of them was a part of Whitney Houston's fan club, and she forgot to RSVP. She didn't even know that there was an RSVP. I found out from another nice lady from the Centoya signing. So I had 2 RSVP tickets, which were free, and so I said, hey, my friend didn't come, you can have her ticket. And she wanted to pay me for the ticket. I'm like, no, it's free. It's free. You don't have to pay me anything. It's free. This lady was so nice. She bought me one of the books. So I didn't even have to buy my own book. She bought it for me. So I met wonderful people here, and this was a wonderful experience, and yeah, awesome. The whole seating situation, that was a thing, but it ended up getting resolved, and so that was nice. And I hope you guys like the interview, and if you liked the interview, you might want to check out the book itself. Thank you so much for watching, bookends. Have a great night or day, depending on where you are when you're watching this and what time. Bye, bookends.